Children, I have already explained you the poem Childhood. Actually, the poet seems puzzled about the loss of childhood. It is natural in the process of growing up. Still, the poet tries to find an answer to his two queries. When did my childhood go? And where did my childhood go? Children, these were the queries. These were the questions. I'm again summarizing you the poem. So listen carefully, then we'll follow up with then I'll dictate you the extract based questions. So he was puzzled. The poet Marcus Nathan, he seems puzzled about the loss of childhood. Children, it is a natural process in the growing up. Like in case if we grow up, obviously we would lose our childhood. But there are two of the queries which occur in his mind. The very first one was, when did my childhood go? And the next one was, where did my childhood go? So the first possibility of the time of departure of his childhood relates to the age when he had completed the age of 11. It was then that he developed the power of understanding. He became, rather, we can say that he became aware that hell and heaven could not be found in geography. It was a time that he realized that they are not in the map. Heaven and hell, they are not marked in the atlas. Since they could not be located anywhere in world, he concluded that they did not exist. What did not exist, children? Heaven and hell. Yes. He reached a logical conclusion based on his reasoning power. Children, the second possibility which he thinks that relates to the time when he found that he was the master of his mind. He could use it whichever way he chose. He could now produce his own thoughts and need not repeat those of others. Children, a sense of individuality dawned on him. At this hour, a sense of individuality dawned on him, and he wonders whether he lost his childhood on one of these days. He wonders at that time. In the final stanza, children, the poet dwells on the problem. What was the problem? That where his childhood has disappeared. On the basis of his limited knowledge, he thinks that his childhood went to some forgotten place that was hidden in an infant's face. The poet actually implies that adolescence follows childhood in the same way as childhood has replaced infancy. So, children, it is a stage of growing up. It was a summary. Now, the very first extract. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I seized it, to be 11? What was it the time I realized that heaven and hell could not be found in geography and therefore could not be, was that the day? Children, ceased means stopped happening or existing. Realized means became aware. So, In this stanza, I've already told you that he became aware that heaven and hell, they could not be found in geography. So the very first question, what different possibilities, according to the poet, are instrumental in cessation of, it is of children, cessation of childhood. So the children, there are the answer coming up is there are various possibilities according to the poet. What was the possibilities? One, growth in terms of years. Two, rationalism. Three, realization. Realization of what? Realization of the falsehood and the hypocrisy of the adult. Adult, they preach love. I've already told you earlier also. They preach love, but they never follow it. It was the hypocrisy of the adults. It is the children, actually the preaching and the practice of adults are contradictory over here. Okay. Okay, the next question, when does poet lose his childhood? Children, the poet lost his childhood when he started reasoning. When he started thinking, and when he became aware that hell and heaven could not be found in geography. Actually, they could not be located anywhere in the world, so he concluded that they did not exist. So we can say that he reached a logical conclusion based on his reasoning power. Logically, he thought. What is the third question? What makes the child doubt the existence of hell and heaven? He now finds existence of heaven and hell in geography. Means what makes the childhood doubt? Doubt means he has some query. He was in a sanshay जिसे बोलते हैं. तो what happened, children? Actually, when he developed a power of understanding, then he realized, then he gave it a logical thinking. He came to the logical conclusion that heaven and hell does not exist. They do not exist. It is not in geography. It is not found in any of the corner of the world, even in the atlas even. Okay. Now, the next paragraph, when did my childhood go? Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? They talked of love and preached of love, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? Now, before coming up the question, children, what does the poet think about adults? Children, according to the poet, the adults, they are full of hypocrisy. According to the poet, the adults are full of hypocrisy. They are hypocrites. They preach something else and they follow something else. What does the poet think about preaching and practicing of adults? Very important question. It is contradictory. They follow something else and they preach something else. They tell us to do something else and they themselves do something else. So it is a sort of a hypocrisy. It is a sort of a contradictory matter. What idea do you get about the child who learns to see through hypocrisy of the adult? Actually, in case if we have to trace an idea, children, the child is heading towards world maturity. He is getting mature. He is getting mature and he is thinking that the elders, they are preaching something else and practicing something else. So he has found the difference between the face values and real values. Now he was able to differentiate between the face value and the real value. Now he can peep into the hearts and the conscious. Now he can see the real character of a man, we can say. Third paragraph, when did my childhood go? Was it when I found my mind was really mine, to use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people, but my own and mine alone was that the day. Actually, children, in this poem, in this paragraph, he says that the problem is where, like, he found that he had become the master of his mind. Now he can take his own decisions. He had developed a sense of individuality. He's asking a question, that was that the day. So when does the poet realize that his mind is really his? Children, he finds himself master of his mind, and he comes to trust his ability to reason and think. When he developed that sense of individuality, he realized that growing up, that he is not dependent. Now he says that childhood, being a stage, must give way to another stage. His rationalism helps him to decide truth or falsehood. His rationalism helps him to decide fact and fiction. He acquires a fine capability. What type of capability, children? He acquires a capability of analysis. Now he can discriminate. He understands the hypocrisy. And what happens then? The poet gains confidence and he becomes an independent thinker. Now next question, children, how has the poet become independent now, when he had gained individuality in his thought? What does child experience in the process of growing up? Children, he experiences relief of restrictions imposed on him and his capacity to have individual thoughts. He can take the decision. That process of being rational, that self-confidence, he could now think independently and need not repeat parrot-like thoughts of others. He need not repeat parrot-like thought of others. Now next question, next para. Where did my childhood go? It went to some forgotten place, that's hidden in an infant's face. That's all I know. Now the last stanza, I've already told you, children, in this last stanza, he says that childhood is an important stage in the process of growing up of every person. The human infant is totally dependent. During childhood, he gains physical, emotional, and mental strength. And actually, the poet says that as the tiny baby grows bigger in size, other faculties also develop. And the stage is an important landmark in one's growth. But children, the stage can't go on forever. One stage has to give way to another stage. So he says that the first line of the stanza indicates a shift in thoughts of a growing child. How does the speaker feel about the loss of his childhood? Actually, he regrets the loss of childhood, which was a period of innocence. Children, actually, it was a period of innocence and a make, M-A-K-E. Children, it is a make, M-A-K-E, and make. Innocence and make believe world. The last question, what is the mental state of the poet here? Children, the poet is puzzled at sudden change in his thoughts. He's puzzled. Now, Next question is, identify the stanza that talks of each of the following. Children, these are the, we can say, figure of speech over here: individuality in the third stanza, rationalism in the first stanza, and hypocrisy in the second stanza. What, according to the poem, is involved in the process of growing up? I have already given you this question. According to the poem, the loss of childhood is involved in the process of growing up. The loss is compensated by some gains which come with adolescence. Children, these are increase in understanding, power of rationalizing. Like, in case if you are being rationalized, that means you are thinking, you are being rationalized, and you can discriminate between good and bad. You are able to discriminate between, come on, you can able to discriminate between the good and bad. Obviously, what one is preaching and what one is following, you are able to discriminate that thing. So the poet says that heaven and hell could not be found in geography books or atlas. Since they could not be located anywhere in the world map, he concluded that they did not exist. So he would believe only what he could see and find. The speaker noticed a wide gulf between what adults appeared to be and what they actually were in real life. There was apparent contradiction between their words and deeds. He could discriminate between the words and the deeds means actions. The words and deeds means actions. They talked of love and advised others to love, but they never acted lovingly. So the realization that he was the master of his own mind and could use it in any way he liked filled him with self-confidence. He could now think independently and need not repeat thought of others. What will you do is, children, you will note down the extracts from the for comprehension. You will note down these questions, these 4 extracts and their questions along with the answers. This is your classwork. What all I have explained, only the answers which I have given you, you will write down. These are the answers. These are the question answer. You will write down. You will not write down the whole extract. You will write down when did ... the day, and following up with the question answer. Okay, children, 4 extracts I have given you. The 4 extract based comprehension I have given you, you will write down in your notebook as a classwork. I'll be sending you the assignment, 2 of the questions, and then you will send your assignment, not the classwork. You will note down these extracts. And what all, listen to the video carefully. I have explained you the poem again. Okay, I have explained you the extracts again.